Marvel introduces their newest Avenger in Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings on Friday, and I got the opportunity to go see it yesterday, Saturday, with my podcast buddies and my friends. We had a blast at the theater seeing this, and I just can't wait to start talking about it. Hey everyone, S-Dub Nation here. Welcome back to a brand new review here on the channel. Today I would like to stop and take the time to talk about Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings. Please know that everything that I will say in this video is just my very own opinion, and you're free to comment down below. What did you think of Shang-Chi? Like, comment, and subscribe. Please don't forget to check out that Twitter. It's going to pop up on your screen right now. Don't forget to check out that Marvel playlist. That link is up above. With that being said, let's just get right into our review because I had a great theatrical experience seeing this. And hopefully you did too.
I told my men they wouldn't be able to kill you if they tried. Glad I was right.
Yeah! Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings. Yes, this film was great. Yes, I loved it. Let's move right into the good because for the past 2 to 3 weeks, the hype just overtook my overall excitement for this film. And the good thing that comes to mind here is that my whole entire time watching this film in a movie theater, I thought, is this still Marvel? Is this still Marvel? Why is it not like other Marvel movies? Why does it look totally different from every other Marvel thing that's came out? Why does the action look so good? Why is the hand-to-hand combat like this way? Because it was Marvel, but it was just something different, and I appreciated that a lot. All of the reviewers are right. This movie is awesome. It's spectacular. For weeks, I have been loving the promotion and all of the hype that ramped up my excitement for the film. Off rip, I knew this movie was going to be fire. Just out of the gate, I knew this was going to be fire from the first teaser. Even before then, you guys can even go back to the other videos where I have exclaimed my excitement for it. Kicking off my top 5 list has got to go to Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Bro, my anticipation levels for this is at an 8. Getting, bro, like a Jackie Chan style Marvel movie? Are you kidding me? Starting off with the gigantic 1,000-year scope and expansion of the story and the Legend of the Ten Rings themselves, all of it seemed epic to me. The character of Shang-Chi is a very interesting one, a very welcomed character because really, he is just like us. He's just a normal guy, except for the fact that he's the greatest martial artist in the entire world. There's some heavy emotions here and there because essentially this film is about a father and son. This film is about a father and his family. The family tension hit hard, as well as Tony Leung as Wenwu. He just won me over as this man that is desperate for power, but also as that terrorist turned father, and he's battling between which of those he should be. Should he be this terrorist? Should he be this monster wielding the 10 rings, putting fear in everybody's hearts? Or should he be this father for his family? And in my opinion, I thought that he was one of the best characters inside of this film. I mean, the utilization of the 10 rings is an interesting one because, as you guys see in the trailer, obviously Wenwu, he puts the 10 rings on his wrist. He can use them as blasters and stuff like that, but it's actually more to that. You can do a lot of different things with the 10 rings, and as explained in the film, I'm not trying to go into spoilers here, these are some ancient, powerful artifacts, so they could be on the radar of Doctor Strange in a sense, but I just love the combat, everything that they do with the 10 rings themselves, using them as whips, sometimes jetpacks, sometimes boosters. All of it worked for me. I thought all of that was pretty great. I also really do love the representation inside of this film. It is of that caliber of Black Panther, with having an all African American lead. In that movie, you have an almost all Asian American lead, and I think that works because we have this movie. Now we can have this movie. Black Panther paved the way for this movie to have as much representation inside of it as possible, and they never once downplayed that representation. In fact, they embraced that Asian heritage. They embraced the Asian culture, whereas some of the movie is actually spoken in Chinese. I think that's the language. Actually, a lot of the movie is told in Chinese. All of the backstory, all of the exposition, all of that is told in the Chinese language. And I think that just even more sold me on the fact that they are respecting and embracing the Asian culture as they did with Black Panther. So they're giving this film that exact same treatment. The action inside of this film is just amazing. It's just great. I go back and forth on what has the best action, Captain America, Winter Soldier, or there's another film inside of the mix that you can say Black Widow. Just put it out there. Black Widow, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Which action do I think is better? Winter Soldier out of those two films. But for me, this film, it won me over. The best hand-to-hand combat inside of the entirety of the MCU has to go to Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings. I just thought that the hand-to-hand combat, the stylized action of it all just worked. It felt like it was really choreographed. It didn't feel like there was just two people brawling at each other, don't know how to fight. It felt like these are trained martial artists. And so it felt like real martial arts. So the choreography flowed well. And you know the best thing about the action scenes inside of this film? They held the camera steady. It wasn't shaky cam. It wasn't quick cuts. It wasn't nothing like that. They held the camera still to let the actors and the performers and the martial artists do their job. That was just great for me. That was great for me. I didn't get dizzy while watching the action. When I was watching the action, I was like, ooh, because it's brutal. At the same time, it looks cool, it looks awesome, and it's very stylized. The soundtrack inside of this film, one of the greatest inside of the MCU. Don't need to talk about that anymore. Just one of the greatest inside of the MCU. I love how it ties into the other films, whereas we see some characters pop up from Iron Man 3, and then also some characters from Doctor Strange and the Incredible Hulk. They, talk about the Mandarin situation that was inside of Iron Man 3. Like the fact that they tied the Iron Man movies to this film as well. I mean, they're related at this point. Also, the humanity and heart worked inside of this film. I know I'm going long on the positives, but I just gotta say this movie was just so great. But the humanity and the heart of it all, with the family aspects, all of that tied together, great. The comedy for me worked. It's been a while since I laughed at the MCU, and it's been kind of hard to laugh at comic book films, especially the MCU films, because their jokes most of the time do not land. The world building is large and wide in scope, and I thought that Awkwafina and, spoilers here, Shang-Chi's sister were amazing female leads. But I've said all of my positives. It's been a long positive section. Let's get right into the mixed. And the mixed thing that comes to mind here is that this isn't necessarily a good or bad thing. This is just what I thought that I had concerns about during my first viewing of the film. I have only seen the film once, and I'm going to see it a second time after this at the time of this recording. So let's get into it. Now, the first act is very great, and the third act is good to great as well, but a common trope in the Marvel films, especially the MCU films, is that the third act is very CGI heavy and not as personalized, as well as the second act being boring and very overly expository, and that's what it was inside of this film. This film follows the MCU template. Now, it is hidden very well inside of all of the Chinese and Asian folklore tales, all of it, the world building, everything that I said in the positives, the MCU template is hidden by that, and it's a lot of positives in this film. But in some instances, you can see it seeping through a little bit because of how over expository the second act is and how CGI heavy the third act is. And sometimes you really just want a small martial arts style third act without the whole world being at stake. But those are just my mixed things. They're not bad things, but they're certainly not great things. They're just right there in the middle. In conclusion, Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings is an amazing epic story about a father and his family, and the legacy of that family, and the legacy of this entire world, and the two sides of that family inside of Shang-Chi. All of it worked for me. The Asian representation as well as the action was handled elegantly, and some would say this is the Asian Black Panther. I love the fact that there's actual tension and actual stakes inside of this film, because when people die in this film, they stay dead. They have a memorial for them, but they stay dead, and I love that. Now, while it does have that MCU template, it is hidden very well by the positives that I had already said, and it creates something fresh and new for the universe, giving us a true peek into the future of the MCU as well as Phase 4. And honestly, I can't wait to see where this character goes. I can't wait to see him interact with the rest of the MCU characters, and hopefully it will be a blast. As someone who grew up on Ninjago, as someone who loves Ninja Turtles, as someone who loves Power Rangers, as someone who loves and grew up on Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, Jet Li, Asian martial arts stories, as well as movies and TV shows, as someone who loves that stuff, as someone who grew up with that stuff, as someone who was practicing fighting and martial arts in their room as a kid, I love this film. So I'm gonna have to give this film, Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings, upon first viewing, an A+ and a 9.7 out of 10. And I would say definitely see it on the biggest screen possible. Definitely see it in theaters. You will not regret it. Actually, everything that they showed inside of the trailer, that's literally like 45 to 50 minutes of the movie. You still have a whole hour and 50 minutes to go inside of the movie. So yeah, go to your nearest theater. Be safe. Go see Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings. Alright guys, that was it for the review. Please note that everything that I did say in this video was just my very own opinion, and you're free to comment down below. What did you think of Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings? Please note that I will be doing a spoiler review on the regular podcast with me and my podcast buddies. We went to go see this film. The picture will pop up on your screen right now. We all had a fantastic time. I think Shang-Chi just throws away that stereotype of Asian superheroes and of Asian people, and they did their thing. Marvel does their thing again, and this should be in a discussion of one of the best origin MCU films and top 10 or even top 5, as some people might say, MCU films out there. But with that being said, please don't forget to check out that Twitter that's going to pop up on your screen right now. Please don't forget to check out that Marvel playlist. That link is always in the description. And with that being said, I will see you all next time. Peace.